Lamar Wilson, what's going on? Welcome to the Bitcoin Source. Can we kick things off with you introducing yourself to the audience?
Yes, how you doing? My name is Lamar Wilson. I am co-founder of Black Bitcoin Billionaires. I am also the founder of Wilsondom, which is basically my holding company. What's happening?
Nothing much. Super excited to have you here today. Usually the first question that I ask people when they come on the show is, where did they source their Bitcoin knowledge, whether it be books, conferences, or even people that inspired you in the space? So could you kind of elucidate to the audience any of those factors that might have, helped you to be a better Bitcoiner?
Well, man, I've been in it for so long. The original source was the Bitcoin white paper, the Satoshi white paper. That was the first source. And then I started listening to podcasts like Let's Talk Bitcoin with Andreas Antonopoulos and Adam B. Levine. But most of my knowledge came from me just reading like educational papers around the Bitcoin white paper. And that's how I pretty much learned. And then also like looking at people's code, you know what I'm saying? Like going to GitHub and learning code because that's how I got into the game is by building a wallet.
Too, like I've dabbled in software engineering. I don't think I'm as proficient as you are, but like it gave me a better understanding of Bitcoin, core development just by kind of understanding code. And I think a lot of people can be confused on code and not really understanding it. But to kind of like get into the nuts and bolts of things, I have so many questions that I wanted to ask you. And the first one that was fresh on my mind was, you spoke at the Invest Fest. So I would love for you to give people, kind of a breakdown of like how that has given you more conviction as a freedom maximalist.
Well, I mean, InvestFest was really cool. It was funny because the stage they had me on was Web3, NFT, and something else. And anybody that knows me knows I'm not a huge fan of any of those terms and the way they are being used right now. But at the same time, I'll never shun away from being able to educate people about Bitcoin and the difference between Bitcoin and all of those other things and cryptocurrencies, right? And the other cryptocurrencies. I think it as a freedom maximalist, and I call myself that because I'm tired of like people putting labels. I don't even want the name freedom maximalist. Like, just do what you do. Do what you do with who you want to do it with. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of all of these labels and all of this stuff people try to put on things. It's like, man, just listen. I'm not in your pocket. You're not in my pocket. At the end of the day, all I'm gonna do is just educate and give you enough information to make your own decisions for yourself. I ain't, it don't bother me no one way or the other if you bet on whatever you bet on or put money in whatever you put it in. At the end of the day, if you just use your own mentality and learn, then that's all that matters, man.
For sure. And that's why we got to clear the air on certain things. I want to get into like BBB, Black Bitcoin Billionaires. And, that club has empowered so many people to adopt Bitcoin. What do you say to the world, to people that say the club is only for black folk?
See, the funny thing is about that, I always say it says Black Bitcoin Billionaire. The club is for everyone. It's just black people run it. And I always say if you have a problem with that, then that's on you. Because I mean, we have never told anybody that you have to be black to be a part of Black Bitcoin Billionaire. It's just something that is it's a title that allows you to dream and inspires you to become a billionaire and understand the long term aspects of Bitcoin. And if you are any other race, any other color, it doesn't matter. Come on through. It's just run by black people. If you don't like a place run by black people, then you're not gonna make it there. But if you understand it is controlled and run by black people, and you still gonna get great information, and I think the actual truth of it is, I mean, the club is extremely diverse on Clubhouse. If you go through and look at the membership, I mean, it is a very, very diverse club. You don't get to 160 some thousand people with only black people. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's cool, man.
Yeah, and in my book, my new book that I wrote, Stacking Sass is a New Black, I mention that, and I say, if you think that BBB is only for black folk, that's like saying hip hop is only for black people. So I just think that that's a part of, people just trying to throw shots or trying to discredit some things that, we do in the community and in the culture. And, I just want to champion you for, kind of sticking your neck out there, you, Zay, all the moderators, everybody does their part to make sure that we kind of empower our community in this generational wealth race. So
I always say this to people that bring it up. Like, can I come to the club? I'm not black. I'll be like, you thought black is what's going to trip you up. It's the billionaire part. See, that's the thing. Nobody ever says that, right? Nobody ever goes, oh, man, I'm not a billionaire. I can't get in the club, right? They always go with black, which lets you know. And they go, why does everything have to be focused on race? You're the only one focused on race because you're the one that brought up that black was in it in the first place, right? So you just flip it back on them. You flip it back on all of those people every time, and it winds up waking them up and giving them a little bit of wisdom. You know what I mean? So
100%. And now thinking about it, this is a question that I wanted to ask you for so long because I've sat in rooms and I've witnessed it for myself. So this question kind of goes along the lines of trolls and people on Clubhouse and social media, Twitter spaces that talk crazy and try to act like they know more about Bitcoin than you do. So my question to you, what is a yellow belt maxi and what is your biggest challenge orange pilling people in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Man, yellow belt maxi is a term I came up with when I got onto Twitter finally. Like, I had been on Twitter, but not on Twitter. And now I recognize there is a certain culture on Twitter. And what I realize is like, I call them yellow belt maxis because if you ever go to a dojo and you see the little kids that have yellow belts, like, they are the little kids that they just got enough, they know just enough to be dangerous, but they don't know enough to beat a black belt. And yet they in the parking lot trying to roundhouse their grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, grandma, doing roundhouse kicks and all of these things, even they don't have enough knowledge. And I think a lot of the Bitcoiners that come in, especially through the whole Twitter sphere, they only have enough information because all they do is sit around and watch blogs or they listen to podcasts and they think they know something, but they truthfully don't know. And so whenever they are hit with like very hard questions or very, very high-minded questions, they can't answer them because all they have is rhetoric. So they like those little yellow belts that have just enough knowledge in the dojo and they think they really know karate, but every once in a while a black belt guy come and sit them down. You know what I'm saying? And then outside of that, as far as orange pilling, I think you just meet people where they are. I think you literally just have to meet people where they're at. Like, find out what drives them, what inspires them, and then be able to cater to what that is through the Bitcoin lens and let them see how Bitcoin is important for that, for their goals, for them to hit the goals that they're trying to achieve. And then also for me, because freedom's such a huge thing, I try to show how Bitcoin is freedom. It's like most people don't even know they're enslaved to a mindset, right? They don't even realize that they're in bondage. And so sometimes you have to show them freedom for them to realize what it really is. Because some people have been birthed into it so much that they don't even recognize that they are enslaved, right? They don't even recognize it. So when you start showing them another side or a new perspective, it allows them to start opening their mind up and say, maybe there is a different way. Maybe there is an alternative. Maybe there is a way for me to get out of, this slavery that I didn't even know existed. Because when you start telling them, you start breaking it down to them like, hey, it's your money in the bank, right? They say, yeah. It's like, can you send me some money if I was in Nigeria on Sunday from your bank? And you know what they would say? Nah, I would have to wait till Monday. I was like, what if Monday's President's Day? It's a holiday. Oh, well, I have to wait till Tuesday. But it's your money, right? Then they start going like, it is my money, but I can't even do what I want with it. You know what I'm saying? That's a huge thing. Like, you start talking to people about freedom, I think that winds up, quote unquote, orange pilling people more than anything.
100%. And, educating people is kind of the thing that you do. You're known for. I mean, you're known for doing so many different things. You're a founder of a different company. You're big in the space. Everybody knows you for BBB. But what I really want to talk about is the Bitcoin Academy, because for me, like when I read the stories, the headlines that Jack Dorsey, Jay-Z were putting you in as a teacher with Sister Naja, I was super excited. I'm like, they could have picked anybody to teach Bitcoin, and they chose the two of y'all for a reason. And I truly believe that, y'all are really straightforward and you really have experience in Bitcoin, and you have a wealth of knowledge to be able to teach people. So what takeaways did you learn about trying to serve underserved communities about Bitcoin?
Well, see, I started that way. My very first video I did was on a street called Georgetown Street in Lexington. And if you say Georgetown Street in that city, people are like, oh, that's not a place you want to go, right? Like they don't ever want to. You don't stay down in Georgetown Street. But my first video was on that street in an office that was right on that street. That's my community. My church was half a mile up the street. My house was 0.7 miles up the street. Like, everything was very close. That's my community. So it's not hard for me to have that and make those talks and talk to people in that community, because that is my community. So I think and I always believe that's where it should be, because if we don't do it, it won't get there till too late. Like, our communities usually get this type of information like far, far down the line after everybody else has come in and picked it apart, right? And so I always made it a point to say, listen, I have to be intentional about putting the information in places of that are marginalized, or in places that are those of the disenfranchised, because if I don't do it, who's going to do it, right? And so Bitcoin Academy is an extension of that. It basically is like the continuation of like taking that same information directly to the people who I believe need it the most. And not only that, but also give them a leg up. It's like the first should be last, last should be first type situation, So it's like if you can't share it with the least of these, then who are you? You know, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
I
So
know there was like a little bit of controversy with the academy, and it made me think about like a biblical sense, right? Where like, everybody thought Noah was crazy until it started raining. And I always think about that in regards to that program, to the Bitcoin Academy. And I think that the work that you and Naja have done is tremendous and legendary, and it's going to reverberate throughout all these other communities, because if it's a success, you'll see this popping up in other communities. So I just wanted to, tell you, like, keep pushing, keep doing your thing, and I'm always going to support you, as a writer for BBB. And I just think that, with us as a culture and as a community, it's a trust thing. Like if you don't see a familiar face, it's going to be hard to go and teach people that. So if you think about the amount of people that saw you on the Breakfast Club, that's kind of like an aha moment. Like, oh snap, he was on the Breakfast Club. Now he's in my community teaching me about Bitcoin. He must be 100. He must be authentic. He's not just going to be on TV and on Clubhouse talking these things. You're actually seeing him boots on the ground in these communities, actually trying to orange pill people. So I just think that what you're doing is just a huge victory for our community and for Bitcoin.
thank you, man. Thank you. And even in the comedic sense, I was thinking about this yesterday. Some people's first interaction with me was on a show called Southside, like, which is a comedy show. But again, I've been trying to do this for a long time. So shout out to Jay-Z and Jack for funding it for Jay-Z's community where he came from. You know what I'm saying? And I would hope more billionaires and more people would try to educate their community on this information. You know what I mean? I think it's extremely necessary, especially because we're so early. We are so early, and I think the more people that understand it start to stacking right now, and it's going to change their lives and the lives of generations to come. So, yeah, man.
It's like a
Interviewing me right now. He talking about flowers. I'm gonna throw flowers at him all over the place. This guy is a tremendous writer. He's extremely diligent. As you can see, he's an amazing journalist. Let's just say that he's an amazing journalist, and I really appreciate everything you've done for the BBB, what you've done for the Black Bitcoin Billionaire website. Can't wait till the book comes out. You got to come on Genesis Block and talk about that. Like, I wanted to throw it back at you, bro. Man. It's definitely necessary for me to say that because you're a beacon. You're a beacon of light, and you write for us, if you get what I'm saying. There ain't too many people that write for us in this space. Shout out to you and Ian, man. You and Ian Gaines, two Black Bitcoin Billionaires. If y'all ain't on blackbitcoinbillionaire.com, y'all missing out. That's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, man, I just wanted to say that why I have an opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Lamar. And that's really like heartfelt for me, because as a writer, we have a hard time, especially in our community, we have a hard time getting people to actually read, right? And I always think about what Malcolm X said, which is my alma mater was reading books. You know what I mean? So it's like I kind of always subscribe to that, where, if people really want to find the information and it's technical or something that's above their head, they're going to have to read. There's no way around it. So it's like that's always been my goal with BBB. Like, I'm going to write. And if people gravitate to it, good, and hopefully they can pass it on to somebody else. So that's just my end goal, is to educate my community and not have us be left out of this technological, revolution that we have going on.
Right, for sure.
So Mar, we're gonna wrap up this episode really quickly. Can you give the audience, people out there, how they can get in contact with you, and also what else you have planned for BBB and your other projects down the road?
Yeah, I am BIGMARH everywhere. So Big Mar everywhere. So it sounds like Big Mar, but you put an H at the end as homage to my dad. My dad says Big Ma. So I make sure that I put that H on the end. But yeah, BIGMARH everywhere. Make sure you checking that it's exactly that, because I got a bunch of clones. But on Twitter, I'm that. On Instagram, I'm that. On Facebook, I'm that. So you can find me all those places. Black Bitcoin Billionaire will continue down the path of education. We got the Blackout Conference coming the 2nd through the 4th of September. It's going to be dope, man. Can't wait to see that happen, because I don't think we've had a conference like this in a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, where it's this many subject matter experts on the same stage. And it's going to be dope. And then shout out to my man Sinclair Skinner. He's going to have another one. Of course, Black Bitcoin Billionaire is going to be in the building for the Black Blockchain Summit in D.C. So I just hope everybody comes out. And we just keep moving, man. This thing wasn't never meant to be what it is right now. It was just meant to educate. And it's grown far bigger than my wildest dreams, man. Like, real talk. So I'm extremely grateful for people like Dadu, for all the mods, for everything they do for Black Bitcoin Billionaire, man. It's an amazing thing. So,
Once again, Lamar Wilson, thank you for taking time out to talk on the Bitcoin Source. Have a good
yes,
one.
sir. Thank you.